Hi, I'm Asher, and I look after global business marketing for the Facebook app and emerging platforms here at Facebook. And I'm coming to you from my scenic home office where I'm currently hiding from my daughter's 150th consecutive viewing of Frozen. So for getting me out of that, thank you, MediaCom. And thank you for inviting me to join you at your third Transformation Week. A giant welcome to all who are watching, and a friendly reminder that you can send any questions you might have after this talk directly to events@mediacom.com. Last year, I had the distinct pleasure of traveling across Europe for an event that we called the Facebook Marketing Summit. Perhaps it was a little too ironic that the talk I was giving last year was largely about the power and opportunity that the augmented and virtual worlds present to us. The opportunity to view our world in a new collaborative light through augmented reality and to come together virtually in VR. Little did I know how critical these tools would turn out to be and how common they would become for us all on a day to day basis. A year ago, we lived in the physical world, dabbling in augmentation and occasionally visiting virtual worlds. Today, the physical world is forever changed, and in some cases, it's unrecognizable from what it was like just 12 months ago. From Zoom backgrounds to FaceTime, Messenger, and WhatsApp calls, augmentation is now a regular part of life. And games and devices make virtual worlds accessible, providing opportunities for both community and escape that the virtual world was almost entirely responsible for before the advent of COVID 19. Personally, I have had a hard time with the impact of COVID. While I'm thankful that I'm employed and that my family is safe and healthy, I've been heartbroken seeing the challenges that so many of us, so many around us, face every single day. My wife, ever the practical person, told me something in May that changed everything for me. I was sitting at our dinner table, lamenting my inability to travel, the 2,500-mile distance between me and my parents, and how that felt like an impossibly large chasm. And the sadness that I felt as our 3-year-old daughter referred to our dogs as her best friends instead of talking to her actual human friends. She told me that maybe I would be happier if I started to live in and appreciate the present with all of its challenges rather than mourning the loss of the way I used to live my life. I think she's right. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Taking advantage of this time in history and living in the moment of COVID. Finding ways to reevaluate and approach your business as it is today versus what you thought it should have been. And in that reevaluation, maybe discovering the opportunity or change that could make all the difference during this pandemic and after it. Now, I have a hunch this will sound familiar. Have you ever been trying to get out of the house for a bit of fresh air or a small escape and not been able to find your keys under all the toddler toys or books or boxes or general stuff around your house? It's easy to get distracted and overwhelmed by our new circumstances. At the start of all this, little things like finding our keys, our wallets, or making coffee might have felt insurmountable. It did for me. But of course, that's changing. Over the past 5 months, my colleagues and I have looked at how businesses large and small across the globe have pivoted and evolved over the course of this pandemic, finding success and learning invaluable lessons. I find it comforting because a lot of what businesses are doing today to evolve is really not all that different than what we're doing as people back at home. So perhaps it's no surprise that the businesses that are finding success are generally exhibiting behaviors around three key areas: connection, creativity, and agility. Let's talk about these. So the first is connection. COVID has, if nothing else, brought into focus our need to connect with one another, whether it's with our social communities or the businesses that are a part of them. In our personal lives, so many are craving more connection and finding solidarity in our shared struggles. The World Economic Forum tells us, and I'm quoting, research suggests that when faced with a common threat, communities discover a shared sense of togetherness that can lead people to look past their differences and collectively respond to the challenges that they might face, end quote. This global experience that we're all living through together offers an opportunity for us to strengthen existing relationships and to do so through authentic, honest, and sometimes vulnerable communications to our customers. It takes bravery to be honest about a business's struggle, but if there ever was a time customers could relate, it's today. One example of how larger businesses are harnessing the need to connect and do something to celebrate goodness in dark times comes from the US based Sam's Club, which is a division of Walmart, who partnered with our creative shop to personally recognize their employees for their heroic work, risking their lives so that the rest of us could have the supplies that we need. The idea expanded from one brand thanking its employees to a rallying cry for all consumers via a hashtag, Thank a Hero, that someone was being thanked in their life, someone who had risked everything for others during this tumultuous time. In DACH, we still see the same power of connection and community coming to life and invigorating a small business. In Weisweil, Germany, Jutta Zeisse took over the running of the family farm when she was just 21 years old. As the business grew under her leadership, she expanded the business from being a humble chicken farm to a thriving local community with the addition of a farm shop, a bakery, cafe, even a farm museum, turning her family's work into a thriving rural center with over 1,000 regular customers and a full house for brunch every weekend. Like so many others, Juta's business was hit hard by COVID's mandated closures. Thankfully, Juta's strong online presence, which included Facebook and Instagram, made it possible for Juta to leverage her connection with her customers and keep her business thriving. She opened a 24-hour self-service shop at the farm, offering essentials and cafe-produced goods in a socially distanced, contactless environment. By expanding on the community that she had built for her in-person services, Juta was able to serve existing customers while expanding to new folks who discovered her in spite of all the challenges at play. Now, Juta is taking orders for her famous cakes on WhatsApp, connecting directly with her customers at scale and safely. When summing up the experience, she said, quote, "People love the fact that they still have access to our products either by ordering cakes online or receiving their items at the 24-hour self-service shop. I built my local community during the good times, and now they are here to provide support to me during the bad times," end quote. Whether we are finding new ways to connect with one another, building new communities, or celebrating the ones that we're already a part of, community is becoming a critical element of any successful business, and we suspect that this will carry through post-COVID. Now, of course, it's not just about facilitating community. There's a lot about how you tell your story, too. That's where creativity comes in. When survival and sustainability become priorities, it can sometimes feel like creativity must be put to the wayside. I feel strongly, though, that that is not true. The numbers tell us that the opportunity to connect with people through storytelling is huge. According to Nielsen, online video consumption in the US alone has doubled since the start of the pandemic, as has time spent on digital platforms. A 14% year over year increase shows that there has never been a better time to reach more people in a single place with a story that can move them than now. Fortune magazine reports that the world of the performing arts, hit hard by COVID, is reinventing itself creatively as we speak. I'm quoting, "The range of projects that the theater community has created is astonishing. Live streamed plays are being written and performed, older productions are being released online, and virtual marketplaces are being created to support artists," end quote. The lessons that we learn today will only help us as we evolve as storytellers and marketers post-COVID. Another example of this comes from NYX, a L'Oreal brand. They were supposed to be the official beauty sponsor of the famous music festival Coachella, but when it was canceled due to COVID-19, NYX pivoted and decided to host their own music festival virtually. Named Epic Together, the virtual festival featured live stream performances from artists, had product giveaways, and it even offered the chance for followers to introduce the artists themselves via Instagram Live. It streamed entirely on Instagram over a weekend early in the pandemic and saw strong engagement from their audience, which was a key metric for the brand. This is happening all over the world too. The Concertgebouw, forgive my bad pronunciation, the Royal Dutch Hall in Amsterdam, now presents the empty Concertgebouw sessions every Wednesday. At this digital event, top musicians perform solo from an empty Concertgebouw. While this isn't a replacement for live music at a legendary venue, these performances provided a virtual alternative to the Concertgebouw's traditional schedule and have used creativity and ingenuity to drive connection and community when so many are still stuck at home. Finally, we see the third theme emerging in these times: agility. This brings us back to my wife's point about accepting change when it comes to you. Being agile and adaptive is now a global truth, and often that can mean adjusting or forming an entirely new business offering. We're seeing brands take hard feedback, embrace change, take calculated risks, and pivot from category X to category Y virtually overnight by leveraging technology, listening to their communities, and embracing creative that can move people. An example: the True Respite Brewing Company, a Maryland-based brewing company and taproom who developed an online beer ordering platform and delivery pickup service called Beer Me, and even opened it up to other breweries and competitors. To keep the community informed, they're updating new delivery locations and brand offerings daily on their Facebook page. Or Vasky Boots, a shoemaker from the Czech Republic. Seeing both need and opportunity, Vasky Boots pivoted their production line quickly from making boots to making PPE. This created new opportunities, but also presented new challenges, such as how to find new suppliers and quickly, which they were able to do by using Facebook groups. As the demand for their new production grew, so did their ability to partner with other Czech businesses, and eventually, Vasky was even able to start hiring due to demand when so many others were shedding jobs. This quick pivot is the perfect example of how agility, community, and creativity can come together to drive new opportunities for businesses. So, what now? These stories probably do not sound terribly new to you, and that is a good thing. It's because we're seeing so many businesses lean into them and embrace agility, connection, and creativity. And you might think that these things seem almost obvious, but they're not. See, while these stories continue to flow in, we recognize that shifting to meet the new reality is far from easy. Now, today, you've heard from other colleagues of mine who might have talked about new tools and products that Facebook could offer or even competitors could offer. I don't want to go over those. Instead, I'd like to offer a few questions and suggestions that you can use and ask yourself as you think about how to apply these learnings to your own situation. If you're considering changes to your business or one that you represent, you can ask, are you embracing agility? Are you taking steps to alter your business for the better during COVID? And are the changes that you're considering based around a new objective, like what we saw from Vasky Boots or BeerMe, or just a new technology that's coming your way? Much as I'd like to say it as someone who's spent 10 years working in tech, technology alone is not enough. Tech can be extraordinarily powerful, but often we fall into the trap of believing that what is new is automatically good for us. Instead, I suggest asking, what am I trying to achieve? What technologies offered today offer the most expedient path to this goal? You might be surprised where the answer would lead you. Next, avoid the internet paradox. The internet paradox suggests that the more connected we become, the more alone we feel. Building community online for the sake of connection is not enough. The connection needs a purpose. As you think through the ways to drive connection and community, consider how technology can facilitate human connection, not replace it. Juta's Chicken Farm is a great example of this. Even if the brunch table grew from 2 feet across to 2 miles, the ability to still host brunch and support a beloved business can facilitate real connection and therefore community. Finally, embrace creativity. 2020 hasn't diminished our love of creativity and storytelling, far from it. In times like these, we often see brands retreating to performance marketing alone. But of course, that's the opposite of what we are all craving right now: a reason to care, a story that moves us, a cause or a business that can make us feel passionate and joyful. That's why we believe that unlocking creative potential can be one of the most important ways to drive meaningful performance for your business. So, as our time comes to an end today, I tell you from the bottom of my heart that I hope to see you all someday in the future. I hope that we return to talking about my favorite topics: virtual and augmented worlds, the meaning of presence, the evolution of connection. But this year isn't about that, really. This year is about finding new ways of connecting with one another in a non physical world, and sharing the stories of hope and resilience with each other that we need to hear, and accepting that even when you can't find your keys, your business still needs you, even if your business is changing all around you. Thank you for your time. Stay healthy, and I look forward to seeing you in 2021.